I feel when I kind of look back at my journey, I look at it in three different buckets, and I'm a very hungry person who likes to go after challenges and likes to kind of um, wrestle through, different challenges and things like that. But when I look at my professional journey, it kind of started in three different buckets as far as like being in operations, being in sales, and being in merchandising. And when I was in college, I grew up in a very small town of about 60,000 people in Utah in the United States. And so I grew up in the mountains. I'm a very outdoorsy person, and I stayed in my state to go to college. And there was just one thing I really wanted to do when I graduated, and that was to work for a bigger company. And there were no really big companies where I lived. And I had my sights set on one when I graduated, and I literally loaded my car and drove to the state of Oregon. This is before computers and things like that were intact. And I literally applied for every job in this particular company every week. I would go to the reader board every week and apply. I did have a fallback job, which was waitressing, and it did put me through college. And it actually taught me a lot of skills through my whole life, just how to be accountable, how to hustle, how to work with the public. I feel like everyone should do some kind of service job just to see what it's like working with the public. But then as I mentioned, I moved, and finally I got a job to work for the sport and fitness company of Nike, which I had spent the last 34 years of my life. So in those three buckets. So very, just an amazing company to work with, and also taught me so much about, different things. You can pick your roadmap, so to speak. You don't have to start one place. You can go anywhere you wanted. And I think that's why it fit me so specifically. I think from my perspective and the journeys that I've gone down, I feel like for me specifically, there's been that hunger that I kind of mentioned in finding your way. And I also look at, I love to learn, and I love trying new things. And so when I mentioned that I started out in operations, it kind of taught me a lot about the company. I could learn all the different aspects that I needed to then decide, where did I see myself in a bigger picture. I always wanted to look at the bigger picture and find my way through it. I didn't want to stay where I started. So once I kind of figured out the groundwork and where that could lead me, I am a very creative person, and I wanted to be in a creative environment, or so I thought. And so I found myself in the next position that I was in merchandising, and I loved it. It was great. It taught me so many things about myself, but I think also you need to look at what some people see in you. And through this particular journey and part of my life, somebody saw in me that I could be a public speaker, and I never saw that in myself. And they wanted me to do these big road shows where you would go and educate different retailers on how to be better in the industry, how to make your stores look better, how to make more money, and just how to be a part more of the community. And I just totally did not see that in myself. But then they sent me to classes, and I did start feeling more confident. And now it is one of the most favorite things that I love to do is publicly speak, when some people would rather die than publicly speak. So kind of getting back to your question, I think you need to kind of have a roadmap of where you're going, but then there's also a lot of guidance that comes back at you from others. And I've had so many amazing people help me through my journey, and just listening to them and making sure that you keep your mind open to what opportunities could be. One other aspect, because you mentioned the word global, and I did work for a global company, I did have the opportunity to work in Hong Kong, I'd say in the middle of my career. And it was one of the biggest eye-openers for me as an American moving to Hong Kong and dealing with different cultural aspects. But even though I lived in Hong Kong, I was responsible for 12 different countries. And every country had a different currency and had different cultural aspects to them. And it was so much fun. And I've always loved people that are different than I am, and people that do things differently, whether it be hanging out with your family and eating a meal or doing business in a different way. And so, again, I just think kind of being open, if I hadn't been open to learning and kind of understanding these things that other people saw in me, I don't know that I would have taken the leap. So I took the leap myself to move to a different state and start or want a job with a company that I didn't really know that much about. And then through other areas of my 34 years with this particular company, I had so many awesome experiences, but I would say those two would be, you know, kind of what I look for in a global experience. The learnings that kind of have been the most important part to me have been, I've always, as I mentioned, been super hungry and kind of always wanted the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I worked really hard to get whatever was next. And now that I kind of reflect back after I'm, you know, obviously more mature, the biggest learning I would say is to whatever role you're in at the moment or the current time, to do it with perfection, or not even perfection, make mistakes and learn instead of looking for the next thing, because the next thing's going to come when it's time to come. And I think sometimes a lot of people get caught up in just climbing the corporate ladder versus learning the things that you need to become, you know, a better person, a better business person, you know, anything that can, you know, I believe we're all put here to learn and grow. And sometimes I think you just get caught up in what's next and not really enjoying the journey along the way. If you enjoy the journey, whatever the next thing is going to be that much, you know, more better. And it's going to, you know, like the work hard, play hard aspect of things. I just think so many people don't enjoy things anymore. They just work hard. And I think if you can have fun and enjoy, you know, your journey along the way, it's that much better.